Deep within the sandstone cliffs of the Bandiagara escarpment in central Mali, there exists a civilization that has baffled anthropologists, astronomers, and historians for nearly a century. They are the Dogon people, the keepers of the stars, the guardians of a cosmic knowledge that predates the invention of the telescope by thousands of years. While the rest of the world relies on satellites and supercomputers to map the heavens, the Dogon elders have long possessed a map of the universe etched not into silicon chips, but into the genetic memory of their culture. They knew of the existence of Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible to the naked eye, which they call Po Tolo, centuries before Western science confirmed its existence in the 1860s. They knew its orbital period, its density, and its relationship to the brighter star, Sirius A. Come to the Dogon, the movements of the celestial bodies are not merely scientific curiosities, they are the clockwork of destiny. They believe that the events unfolding on the red earth of West Africa are merely reflections of the shifts occurring in the deep cosmos. When the stars align, empires rise. When the frequencies of the heavens change, tyrants fall. For the past 60 years, the Dogon priests, the Hogon, have remained largely silent. They watched from their cliffside dwellings as the French colonizers came and went, leaving behind a legacy of borders, debt, and puppets. They watched as the Sahel was divided, its resources drained, and its spirit broken. They watched the era of the pale fox, the agent of chaos and disorder in Dogon mythology, run rampant across the land. But recently, a vibration has returned to the cliffs. Oh, the drums are beating a rhythm that has not been heard since the height of the Mali Empire. The elders are pointing their weathered fingers not at the ground, but at the sky. Speaking of a phenomenon that signals the end of the age of chaos and the beginning of the age of restoration. They speak of the return of the Nomo, the ancestral spirits of order, and they say that the sign of this return is the rise of the cosmic twins. In the ancient cosmology of the Dogon, the universe was created through the principle of duality. Amma, the creator god, birthed the world in pairs. The concept of the twins is sacred. It represents perfect balance, the union of strength and wisdom, the harmonization of the sky and the earth. For a society to thrive, it must be led by this dual energy. For decades, the Sahel was out of balance, dominated by singular, selfish leaders who bowed to foreign masters. But the prophecy warned that when the red star pulsed in the sky, the twins would return to hold up the heavens. In the geopolitical reality of the 21st century, this prophecy has manifested in the form of two men who are not related by blood, yet move with the synchronization of a single soul occupying two bodies. One sits in Bamako, Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta. The other sits in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. To the secular analyst in Washington or Paris, these are simply two military officers who seized power in coups d'état. But to the spiritual eye of the Sahel, to the watchers of the Bandiagara, they are the fulfillment of the cosmic requirement for duality. But they are the twins sent to purge the land of the sorcerers, the foreign exploiters and their local enablers. The confirmation of this prophecy arrived in September 2022, a month that will be recorded in the history books for political reasons, but in the spiritual journals for astronomical ones. It was the month Ibrahim Traoré seized power in Burkina Faso, correcting the path of the previous interim government. But what happened in the sky above the border of Mali and Burkina Faso during those critical days? Villagers across the region reported strange atmospheric phenomena. The Harmattan winds, usually carrying the dust of the Sahara later in the year, arrived early and with a ferocity that turned the day into night. But the dust was not the usual beige or brown. It was a deep, blood-red ochre. It coated the trees, the rivers, and the rooftops in a layer of crimson. At night, the moon appeared through this haze not as a white orb, but as a glowing red eye looking down upon the earth. Western meteorologists dismissed it as a climate anomaly, a freak weather event caused by shifting pressure systems. The Dogon astronomers, however, consulted their star charts and the sand divination tables. They knew better. In their symbolism, the color red does not signify death in the Western sense of tragedy. It signifies the surgery. It represents the blood of birth and the blood of the warrior. It is the color of the Po-Tolo star when it is closest to its companion, exerting its maximum gravitational pull. The red sky of September 2022 was the cosmic signal that the surgery of the Sahel had begun. The rising of Ibrahim Traoré was not a political accident, and it was a cosmic intervention. He did not come to negotiate with the cancer of neocolonialism. He came to cut it out. The relationship between Assimi Goïta and Ibrahim Traoré provides the ultimate proof of this twin prophecy. In the Dogon tradition, the elder twin represents the earth, stable, silent, unmovable. This is Goita. He is the quiet strategist, the man of few words who absorbs the attacks of the enemy and holds the line. The younger twin represents fire, dynamic, expressive, transformative. This is Traoré. He is the voice of thunder, the man who stands on the tank and rallies the masses, the spark that ignites the dry grass. Alone, they are vulnerable. Together, they are a complete system. We see this played out in the formation of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. When Traoré rose to power, but his first instinct was not to fly to Paris or New York, but to fly to Bamako. The embrace between Goita and Traoré was not merely a diplomatic greeting. It was the clicking together of two halves of a magnet. They understood, perhaps instinctively, perhaps spiritually, that their destinies were entangled. When France threatened Burkina Faso, Mali declared that an attack on Traoré was an attack on Goita. This level of solidarity goes beyond military alliances. It is the spiritual reconstruction of the ancient Mali Empire. The Dogon memory stretches back to a time before the Berlin Conference of 1884, before the Europeans drew arbitrary lines in the sand to divide the tribes. In the time of the Mansas, emperors, there was no border between Mali and Burkina Faso. It was one continuous flow of trade, culture, and spirit. And the colonial borders act as spiritual scars, disrupting the flow of energy across the land. By erasing these borders through the AES by creating a confederation where the people are one, the twins are healing the scar. They are restoring the natural flow of the continent's life force. This is why the Western powers are terrified. They can manage a dozen small, bickering nations. They cannot manage a resurrected empire. But the mystery goes deeper. It touches upon the very nature of power itself, as understood by the Dogon physics of Sirius B. The star Po-Tolo, Sirius B, is a white dwarf. It is incredibly small in size, yet it is incomprehensibly heavy. A single teaspoon of its matter weighs tons. It is the heaviest object in the Dogon celestial map. Their proverb states, "The smallest seed holds the heaviest weight." Ibrahim Traoré is the manifestation of the Sirius B Principle in modern geopolitics. Look at Burkina Faso. On the map of the world, it is a small nation. It is landlocked. It has no nuclear weapons. It has a small GDP. In the eyes of the global superpowers, it should be insignificant. It should be light, easily blown away by the winds of Western sanctions. And yet, look at the weight it carries today. Since Traore took power, the gravity of Ouagadougou has shifted the orbit of the entire African continent. Decisions made by this young captain are causing tremors in the Élysée Palace in Paris. They are being discussed in the Kremlin. They are being analyzed in the Pentagon. How can such a small nation have such immense gravity? It is because, like the star Sirius B, Traore is dense with truth. He is dense with the concentrated will of the people. He has stripped away the fluff of diplomacy, the hollow rhetoric of democracy that hides corruption, and he has condensed the spirit of the nation into a solid core of sovereignty. When a leader possesses this kind of spiritual density, he bends the reality around him. He forces the larger stars, the G7 nations, to react to his movements. He becomes the axis upon which history turns. The Dogon elders also speak of the pale fox, the trickster god Yurugu, who wanders the earth sowing confusion, discord, and deceit. The pale fox speaks with a forked tongue. He promises development but brings debt. He promises security but brings terrorism. For 60 years, the pale fox has made his den in the Sahel. He has turned brother against brother. But he has whispered lies to the leaders, telling them they are weak, telling them they need his protection. The arrival of the twins marks the hunting of the pale fox. Traore's rhetoric is specifically designed to dismantle the lies of Yurugu. When he exposes the predatory nature of the mining contracts, he is shining a light into the fox's den. When he arms the civilian volunteers for the defense of the homeland, VDP, he is arming the village against the trickster. The Dogon view the current conflict not as a war against terrorists in the conventional sense, but as a spiritual cleansing of the chaos agents that the pale fox unleashed. There is a particular astronomical alignment that the Dogon are waiting for now. It is the Sigui, a cycle that renews every 60 years. When the last major cycle coincided with the wave of African independence in the 1960s. That independence, however, was hijacked. It was incomplete. The Red Star event of 2022 signals the beginning of the correction of that cycle. It is the second independence. This cosmic perspective offers a terrifying warning to the enemies of the Sahel Alliance. The West believes it is fighting a political ideology. They believe they can crush this movement with economic sanctions, with media smear campaigns, or with sponsored insurgents. They are operating under the delusion that they are fighting men. They do not realize they are fighting a celestial mechanic. You cannot sanction a star. You cannot assassinate a gravitational pull. You cannot negotiate with the turning of an age. If the Dogon prophecy is correct, that the rise of Traore and Goita is as inevitable as the rising of the sun. The friction we see now, the violence, the struggle, the diplomatic crises, is merely the heat generated by the re-entry of the Nomo into the atmosphere of the Sahel. It is the friction of truth rubbing against decades of lies. The connection extends even further, linking the Sahel to the cosmic origins of civilization. The Dogon claim their knowledge comes from the stars, implying that the destiny of West Africa is tied to the destiny of the planet itself. They believe that Africa is the spiritual anchor of the world. When Africa is unchained, the vibration of the entire planet rises. Conversely, as long as Africa is enslaved, the world remains in a state of low-vibration chaos. Therefore, Traore's battle is not just for Burkina Faso, as it is for the spiritual liberation of humanity. He is breaking the chains that hold the anchor down. Observers have noted that since the formation of the AES, the usual methods of Western control have stopped working. Threats that used to terrify African presidents are now met with laughter in Ouagadougou and Bamako. Bribes that used to buy loyalty are now exposed on national television. It is as if the spell of the pale fox has been broken. The red star has illuminated the darkness, and in that light, the people can finally see the chains for what they are: fragile, rusty, and ready to be shattered. The sky over Mali and Burkina Faso is no longer silent. It is vibrating with the energy of the ancestors who have returned to witness the fulfillment of their prayers. While the red dust that covered the land in September 2022 was not just weather, it was anointing oil. It was the cosmos marking the foreheads of the twins. Assimi Goïta and Ibrahim Traoré stand back to back, a two-headed warrior guarding the gates of the Sahel. One looks to the desert, one looks to the savannah. One represents the unyielding earth, the other the consuming fire. Together, they have recreated the balance that Amma intended. The mystery of the Dogon stars is no longer a secret hidden in the cliffs. It is playing out live on the world stage. The red star has risen. The twins have united. The empire is returning. And for those who stand in the way of this cosmic realignment, the message from the stars is clear. The era of your dominance has set. The sun of the Sahel is ascending to its zenith, and its heat will purify everything it touches. The watchers of Bandiagara have spoken. The prophecy is in motion, and nothing on earth can stop what the heavens have decreed.